Confidence.
She has a lot of confidence issues. No, she's just really bold and she loves.
For years, they were Nashville's ultimate power couple, the powerhouse vocalist and the talent manager who seemed to have it all. But behind the red carpets and the soaring ballads, a much darker harmony was playing. Kelly Clarkson is finally pulling back the curtain on the double life of Brandon Blackstock, revealing that the man she trusted with her heart and her career wasn't exactly who he claimed to be. From hidden motives to the courtroom battles that followed, here is the unfiltered truth about the marriage that pushed the original American Idol to her breaking point, the hard road before Kelly Clarkson became a star. Long before the red carpets, the sold-out arenas, and the voice that would one day dominate radio, Kelly Clarkson was just a girl growing up in the quiet Texas town of Burleson, carrying a dream that no one around her could quite see yet. She was born Kelly Breanne Clarkson on April 24, 1982, in Fort Worth, Texas, to Jean Ann Rose, a first-grade English teacher, and Stephen Michael Clarkson, an engineer whose practical world seemed far removed from the music that would eventually define his daughter's life. Her early childhood was not the picture-perfect story people might expect from someone who would later become one of America's biggest stars. When Kelly was only 6 years old, her parents divorced, and the separation split the family in 3 different directions. Her older brother Jason moved in with their father. Her sister Alyssa went to live with an aunt, and Kelly remained with their mother, a change that changed the rhythm of her childhood and left her growing up largely in a single-parent home. Life eventually found a new balance when her mother remarried Jimmy Taylor, and the family expanded further with 2 younger half-brothers from her father's second marriage. But the early fracture in the household left its mark and helped shape the independence Clarkson would later become known for. Faith became one of the few constants during those years. Clarkson was raised Southern Baptist in a family that took religion seriously, the kind of upbringing where church was not optional but simply part of life's weekly rhythm. Sundays and Wednesdays meant services, community, and youth group meetings, and young Kelly often found herself deeply involved. She would later reflect that she had always grown up in church, often leading her youth group and leaning on her faith as something steady when everything else around her seemed uncertain. In a household that she once described as highly conservative, church was more than tradition. It was structure, discipline, and a sense of belonging. At the time, though, music was not yet the clear path people now associate with her name. In fact, Clarkson had never received formal vocal training during most of her childhood, and the idea that she might one day build a career around her voice had not even crossed her mind. That changed almost by accident during her time at Pauline Hughes Middle School. One afternoon, while Clarkson was casually singing in the hallway, a choir teacher named Cynthia Glenn overheard the voice echoing through the corridor. The moment stopped her in her tracks. Glenn approached the young student and asked if she had ever considered auditioning for the school choir. Clarkson's answer was simple. She had never had any professional training, never taken lessons, and had never thought of singing as anything more than something she enjoyed doing. But the teacher heard something else entirely. That hallway moment quietly opened a door Clarkson did not even know existed. From that point forward, music began weaving its way into her life. By the time she reached Burleson High School, Clarkson was performing in school musicals and finding a confidence on stage that had never quite surfaced anywhere else. Productions like Annie Get Your Gun, 7 Brides for 7 Brothers, and Brigadoon became the spaces where she started discovering the power of her voice and the feeling of connecting with an audience. It was during those high school years that Clarkson finally began formal voice training, not because she was already chasing fame, but because she believed music might earn her a college scholarship. When she graduated in 2000, the plan seemed straightforward. Several universities were willing to offer her full scholarships, including the University of Texas at Austin, the University of North Texas, and even the prestigious Berklee College of Music. For many students, those opportunities would have been impossible to turn down. But Clarkson made a decision that surprised almost everyone around her. She declined all of them. By that point, she had already begun writing her own music and felt a growing urge to carve out her own path rather than follow the traditional route. College, she reasoned, would always be there if she needed it later. The moment she felt called to chase music was happening now. So instead of lecture halls and campus dorms, Clarkson stepped into a far less glamorous reality. She took multiple jobs, saving every dollar she could to fund a demo recording, determined to get her music into the hands of record labels. It was not the fairy tale breakthrough many people imagine when they look back at her career. In fact, the response was mostly silence. Record labels passed on her demo again and again, and when 2 deals were eventually offered from Jive Records and Interscope Records, Clarkson shocked industry insiders by rejecting them. The contracts would have boxed her into a sugary bubblegum pop image she did not believe showed who she was as an artist. Clarkson trusted her instincts and walked away, convinced that waiting for the right opportunity mattered more than accepting the wrong one. Still chasing that opportunity, she made the bold decision to head to Los Angeles in 2001. The move was meant to open doors, but instead it exposed her to a harsher side of the industry. Clarkson picked up whatever work she could find just to stay afloat, even appearing as an extra in television shows like Sabrina the Teenage Witch and Dharma and Greg. She briefly collaborated with legendary songwriter Jerry Goffin to record several demo tracks, hoping the material might finally attract a serious record deal. But the music industry remained stubbornly closed. One rejection after another followed, with some record executives delivering criticism that Clarkson would never forget. According to her own recollections, several labels dismissed her voice as sounding too black, an absurd judgment that left her stuck in a system unsure how to categorize her. The doors she expected to open in Los Angeles stayed firmly shut. Then came the moment that forced everything to stop. A fire broke out in Clarkson's apartment building, destroying her belongings and leaving her with little choice but to abandon the struggling dream she had been chasing. With no stable work, no contract, and nowhere to stay, Clarkson returned home to Burleson, Texas, taking on whatever jobs she could find just to rebuild her life. At the time, it may have looked like the dream had quietly ended, but in reality, the story that would eventually change her life had not even begun yet. The rise of Kelly Clarkson, from reality show to pop royalty. Back in Burleson, after the Los Angeles dream had quietly collapsed around her, Clarkson was simply trying to move forward when the next twist in her story appeared from the most unexpected place. Friends around her kept insisting that she audition for a brand new television show called American Idol, The Search for a Superstar, a competition that, at the time, barely anyone in America had heard of. It sounded like a long shot, almost like a gamble, but Clarkson eventually decided to take it. She auditioned in May 2002 and managed to secure what the show called a golden ticket, the pass that sent contestants to the Hollywood rounds. Even then, the show itself still felt like an experiment. Clarkson would later look back on that first season and laugh about how chaotic it all was, remembering that nobody really knew what they were doing. The producers were figuring things out in real time, the format changed constantly, and the contestants often felt like kids dropped into summer camp without instructions. At one point, production literally took them to a shopping mall and told them to find clothes to wear on national television. Clarkson later joked that she had no idea what someone like her was even supposed to buy for a moment like that, wandering through stores and settling on white pants while worrying she might end up looking more like a cocktail waitress than a future pop star. But once the competition started, something shifted. Week after week, Clarkson's voice cut through the uncertainty of the show itself. The same voice that had once echoed through a middle school hallway in Texas was now reaching millions of viewers across the country, and audiences quickly began gravitating toward the authenticity she brought to the stage. By the time the finale arrived on September 4th, 2002, at the Kodak Theater in Los Angeles, Clarkson had become the clear favorite. When the votes were counted, she won the very first season of American Idol, earning 58% of the vote and defeating runner-up Justin Guarini, a moment that transformed her life almost overnight. The victory did not just come with applause. It launched Clarkson straight into the machinery of the music industry. Talent manager Simon Fuller quickly signed her through 19 recordings, while legendary music executive Clive Davis stepped in through RCA Records to oversee the launch of her career. Only days after winning the show, Clarkson released her debut single, a double A-side featuring Before Your Love and A Moment Like This, the song she had performed during the season finale. The reaction was immediate. The single debuted on the Billboard Hot 100 at number 60, climbed to 52 the following week, and then made a historic jump straight to number 1, breaking a 38-year record previously set by the Beatles for the biggest leap to the top of the chart. By the end of 2002, A Moment Like This had become the best-selling single in the United States, a powerful signal that Clarkson's sudden fame was quickly turning into something far bigger than a television victory. Her debut album, Thankful, followed in April 2003, blending pop, contemporary R&B, and gospel influences while featuring contributions from respected songwriters and producers like Diane Warren and Babyface. Critics immediately focused on the strength of Clarkson's voice, noting how effortlessly she moved across octaves while balancing power and warmth in a way that felt both commanding and approachable. The album debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 and eventually sold more than 4.5 million copies worldwide, earning multiple platinum certifications and firmly establishing Clarkson as more than just a reality show winner. Its lead single, Miss Independent, became her first international hit, reaching the top 10 in several countries and earning Clarkson her first Grammy nomination for Best Female Pop Vocal Performance. Follow-up singles like Low and The Trouble with Love Is continued building her presence on radio, with the latter even appearing on the soundtrack of the romantic film Love Actually. During that period, Clarkson was everywhere. She toured across the United States alongside fellow Idol finalist Clay Aiken, appeared on television shows, and even stepped briefly into acting. In 2003, she starred with Justin Guarini in the musical comedy From Justin to Kelly, a project she later admitted she had been contractually obligated to complete and never particularly enjoyed. The film struggled both with critics and at the box office, but Clarkson's music career continued moving forward. She appeared in television projects like MAD-TV and American Dreams, where she portrayed rock and roll legend Brenda Lee, and later traveled to London to compete in the global Special World Idol, alongside winners from other international versions of the show. Performing Aretha Franklin's You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman, Clarkson ultimately finished as runner-up behind Norway's Kurt Nilsson. Yet even as her career accelerated, Clarkson was already thinking about the next evolution of her sound. Determined to move beyond the image many people still associated with American Idol, she parted ways with Simon Fuller and 19 Management and brought in talent manager Jeff Quatinetz. The shift marked the beginning of a creative reinvention that would reshape her entire career. That reinvention arrived with her second album, Breakaway. Released in November 2004, the record leaned heavily into pop-rock energy, giving Clarkson a stronger, more assertive musical identity. She co-wrote several songs on the album and worked alongside songwriters like Ben Moody, David Hodges, Cara DioGuardi, Dr. Luke, and Max Martin to craft a collection of anthemic tracks that felt bold, emotional, and unmistakably personal. The response was enormous. Breakaway debuted at number 3 on the Billboard 200, but its real success came from its staying power. The album remained on the charts long enough to become the third best-selling album of 2005 in the United States, eventually earning 6 times platinum certification and selling more than 12 million copies worldwide. A wave of hit singles followed. Since You've Been Gone exploded across the radio and quickly became one of the defining pop songs of the decade. Behind These Hazel Eyes, Because of You and Walk Away continued the momentum, with Because of You reaching number 1 across multiple international charts and becoming Clarkson's biggest global hit. The success pushed Clarkson to the top of the industry. By 2006, she had become the most played artist on American radio, an extraordinary turnaround for someone who had once been rejected by record labels for not fitting neatly into their categories. Awards soon followed the music. Breakaway earned Clarkson 2 Grammy Awards, including Best Female Pop Vocal Performance for Since You've Been Gone and Best Pop Vocal Album. Her videos dominated MTV. Her tours filled arenas across the country, and her voice seemed to be everywhere at once. She performed on major television stages, appeared on Saturday Night Live, sang the national anthem during the NBA Finals, and even took part in the celebrations surrounding the 2006 Winter Olympics in Torino, Italy. In just a few years, Clarkson had gone from a struggling singer returning home after a failed move to Los Angeles to one of the biggest pop stars in the world. But while her professional life was soaring higher than ever, the personal chapter that would eventually shake everything was quietly beginning to unfold behind the scenes. The marriage Kelly Clarkson thought would last forever. For a long time, Kelly Clarkson believed she had found the one person who truly understood both her heart and the whirlwind world that came with her fame. Their story seemed almost cinematic at first, beginning years before romance ever entered the picture. Clarkson first crossed paths with Brandon Blackstock in May 2006 during rehearsals for the Academy of Country Music Awards, long before anyone imagined their lives would become intertwined. At the time, it was just a passing moment backstage, the kind that usually fades into memory. Yet Clarkson would later remember it clearly. While watching The Room, she noticed a man walking by who seemed to light up everyone around him, cracking jokes and making people laugh. Something about the moment stuck with her instantly. Clarkson would later recall thinking, almost instinctively, that she was going to end up with him someday. At the time, though, that possibility seemed far away. Blackstock was married to his first wife, Melissa Ashworth, and their lives moved on separate paths for several more years. During those years, Clarkson's career continued rising, yet her personal life had not quite found the same stability. She had dated before, but never in ways she considered especially serious. The dating world often felt like a string of wrong turns before finding the right road, something Clarkson would openly joke about later. Then, in 2012, their paths crossed again. By that point, the timing had shifted in a way neither of them had expected. Blackstock had separated from his first wife, and his father, Narvel Blackstock, happened to be Clarkson's manager. What had once been a brief backstage encounter suddenly became something far more real. One moment during that time stuck with Clarkson. She was preparing to perform the national anthem at a major event while Blake Shelton, who was managed by Blackstock, was scheduled to sing alongside Miranda Lambert. Clarkson later admitted she was unusually nervous that day, not because of the massive audience watching, but because she suddenly found herself wanting to impress one specific person in the room. She would later laugh that the nerves had nothing to do with millions of viewers. The real pressure came from wanting Brandon Blackstock to hear her voice and think she was impressive. Their early dynamic was slightly awkward, though neither of them realized why at first. Clarkson secretly liked him, but had never shown it, while Blackstock believed she actually disliked him. When Clarkson finally confessed she had always been interested, her reaction was pure shock. The moment changed everything. Their first official date came on February 11th, 2012, a day Clarkson would later remember with a strange mixture of humor and irony. It happened to be the same day Whitney Houston died, something Clarkson joked felt like a terrible omen, considering Houston had always been one of her greatest idols. Despite the eerie timing, the relationship quickly grew serious. By December of that same year, Blackstock proposed. The moment itself came quietly at their Nashville home during what seemed like an ordinary evening. Clarkson later recalled casually thanking him for being such a good man, explaining how rare it felt to finally experience what she believed was real love. Then, almost out of nowhere, Blackstock proposed. Clarkson admitted she had absolutely no idea it was coming. In fact, she later joked that if she had known, she would have dressed a little differently instead of wearing Ugg boots and a sweatshirt, and believed she had found the greatest man she had ever known. Less than a year later, on October 20th, 2013, the couple married in a picturesque ceremony at Blackberry Farm in Tennessee, a moment Clarkson described as one of the most beautiful days of her life. The next chapter of their story moved quickly. Only weeks after the wedding, Clarkson revealed that she was expecting their first child. She had a strong feeling it would be a girl and confidently told people she was manifesting it, insisting everyone would see she was right. She was. In June 2014, Clarkson and Blackstock welcomed their daughter, River Rose, a moment that brought a new kind of joy into Clarkson's life. 2 years later, their family expanded again when their son, Remington Alexander, was born in April 2016. Blackstock also brought 2 children from his previous marriage into the blended family, son Seth and daughter Savannah, creating a lively household where Clarkson often embraced the role of stepmother alongside being a mother herself. For a while, the marriage appeared to thrive not just personally, but professionally as well. Blackstock played a role in encouraging Clarkson to take on one of the biggest shifts of her career when she launched her own daytime talk show. The project meant they were often working in the same orbit, something Clarkson once described as creating an unusual but functional partnership, where they balanced their professional lives with the family responsibilities. They even developed a rhythm around their busy schedules. Clarkson once explained that both of them valued independence, giving each other space when needed while still sharing the responsibilities of parenting and work. From the outside, the picture looked almost perfect. A successful marriage, 2 children, blended families, thriving careers, and a relationship that seemed built on mutual respect and partnership. But behind that carefully balanced life, cracks had already begun to form. After nearly 7 years of marriage, Clarkson filed for divorce on June 4, 2020, citing irreconcilable differences. What had once looked like a love story destined to last had suddenly taken a very different turn, opening the door to a chapter that would soon become one of the most painful and complicated battles of Clarkson's life. The truth about Brandon Blackstock. From the outside, the split between Kelly Clarkson and Brandon Blackstock looked like another painful celebrity divorce. But behind the headlines, the situation was far more complicated and far more personal. Kelly filed for divorce in June 2020, citing irreconcilable differences, a moment that quietly stunned many people around her because she later admitted she never truly saw the separation coming. In the months that followed, the emotional weight of the breakup began surfacing in subtle but unmistakable ways. On The Kelly Clarkson Show, the singer often seemed to process her feelings in real time, sometimes through candid comments and sometimes through the emotional performances that had become the centerpiece of her popular Kelly Oak segment. During the premiere of her show's new season that year, filmed only 2 months after she filed for divorce, Clarkson addressed the turbulence of the moment in a way that felt raw and unfiltered. She reflected that 2020 had been a dumpster fire and acknowledged that the year had brought enormous changes to her personal life, changes she never expected to face. What made the situation even heavier was the reality that the breakup did not only involve her own heart. Clarkson explained that the hardest part was knowing the situation affected their children as well, describing how divorce is never easy, especially when children are involved, and noting that both she and Brandon had grown up in divorced families themselves. Protecting their children, she emphasized, had become the most important priority. Behind the scenes, however, the divorce quickly turned into a long and bitter legal fight. The couple, who had married in 2013, spent nearly 2 years battling in court over finances, custody arrangements, and the future of the empire they had built together. At one point, both Clarkson and Blackstock initially sought full primary custody of their children, a sign of just how tense the proceedings had become. Eventually, the court awarded Clarkson primary physical custody, with Blackstock receiving visitation rights that included the first and last weekends of each month in Los Angeles, along with time on the 3rd weekend at his Montana ranch. He was also granted daily FaceTime calls with the children and shared holidays, a schedule designed to keep him connected to their lives despite the distance. Yet the custody battle was only one part of the conflict. During the divorce proceedings, Clarkson made explosive accusations about Brandon's role in managing her career and finances. For years, Blackstock had served as her manager, overseeing major decisions that shaped her transition from music star to television personality, including negotiating the deal that helped launch The Kelly Clarkson Show and securing her coaching role on The Voice. But in December 2020, 6 months after filing for divorce, Clarkson filed court documents claiming her former husband had acted fraudulently in that role. Her legal team argued that Starstruck Entertainment, the talent agency run by Brandon's father, Brandon Blackstock, had been operating as an unlicensed talent agency while collecting commissions from Clarkson's work. The filing described the arrangement as a fraudulent scheme and accused Blackstock of demanding excessive fees, acting in conflicts of interest, and making misleading representations about her business deals. The claims came in response to a lawsuit filed by Starstruck, which alleged Clarkson owed the company more than $1.4 million in commissions and would continue to owe them money from earnings connected to The Voice and her talk show. What followed was a legal standoff that stretched for years. Even after their divorce was officially finalized in March 2022, the financial disputes continued to unfold in court. The settlement itself had already come at a staggering cost to Clarkson. She was ordered to pay Blackstock more than $1.3 million as part of the divorce, along with $45,601 per month in child support and an additional $115,000 per month in spousal support, a financial obligation that reflected both her success and the complexity of the separation. Still, the legal battles did not end there. In November 2023, the California Labor Commissioner ruled in Clarkson's favor in the dispute with Starstruck, ordering Blackstock to repay more than $2.6 million in commissions that had been unlawfully collected from several of her deals, including work connected to The Voice and other endorsements. For Clarkson, it looked like a major legal victory, but the story was not finished yet. Just 1 month later, Blackstock and Starstruck challenged the ruling and appealed the decision, requesting a new trial and pushing the fight even further into the future. Finally, in May 2024, both sides reached a confidential settlement in the dispute and agreed to dismiss their respective lawsuits. The details of that agreement were never publicly revealed, with both parties choosing to keep the resolution private rather than continue the courtroom battle. Even beyond the lawsuits, one of the most emotional disputes during the divorce centered on the couple's $17 million Montana ranch. The sprawling property had once represented a peaceful retreat from their busy lives, but during the divorce it became another point of intense disagreement. Initially, the court awarded Clarkson ownership of the ranch, granting Blackstock only a 5.12% share, valued at roughly $908,800. Blackstock attempted to gain full control of the property, but the couple's prenuptial agreement ultimately kept the ranch in Clarkson's possession. Despite that ruling, Blackstock continued living on the property in the years that followed. He left Los Angeles behind and embraced a quieter life in Montana, becoming a full-time rancher and even competing in local rodeo events, a lifestyle that stood in stark contrast to the entertainment world he had once helped navigate. Meanwhile, Clarkson began building a new chapter of her own. She moved with her children from California to New York City as her talk show relocated to the Big Apple, marking a fresh start after the exhausting years of legal conflict. Yet even after everything the two had been through, their story took one final unexpected turn. In 2025, Clarkson stepped away from several commitments, including dates from her Las Vegas residency, leaving fans wondering what had happened behind the scenes. The truth soon emerged quietly. Brandon Blackstock had been battling melanoma. According to multiple sources, Clarkson spent that time helping care for him despite the painful history between them. Those close to the situation described the experience as emotionally draining but deeply human, explaining that regardless of their divorce, he was still the father of her children and a man she had once loved. The years of legal battles had not erased that connection. As one insider explained, the situation had been exhausting and heartbreaking, but Clarkson had continued showing up for him during the most difficult period of his life. On August 7, 2025, Brandon Blackstock passed away at the age of 48. And with that, the complicated story that had once begun with laughter backstage at an awards rehearsal finally came to a quiet and bittersweet end. Kelly Clarkson's life after divorce, finding peace and purpose. After everything that happened, Kelly Clarkson quietly stepped into a different chapter of her life, one that looks far less focused on romance and far more centered on rebuilding her own peace. Since the divorce, Clarkson has not been linked to any public relationship, choosing instead to keep her focus on herself, her children, and the life she is slowly reshaping after years of emotional and legal battles. Part of that shift has been personal. Clarkson has openly embraced a healthier lifestyle and recently shed a noticeable amount of weight, a transformation that many close to her say reflects more than just physical change, but a deeper effort to reset and reclaim balance in her life. But beyond her own well-being, Clarkson's energy has been flowing into something else that has long been close to her heart: animals. Away from the cameras and the stage, Clarkson maintains a ranch in Texas that has quietly become a sanctuary for animals that many people would otherwise overlook. The property is home to more than 80 rescued animals, including amputee goats, blind dogs, and horses that survived life-threatening conditions like colic. For Clarkson, the ranch is not simply a place to keep animals. It is a refuge where creatures that were once abandoned or struggling are given medical care, attention, and the chance to find permanent homes with adoptive families. It is the kind of work that rarely makes headlines, but speaks volumes about where her priorities now lie. That same sense of purpose also extends into the causes she supports publicly. Clarkson has continued using her voice in ways that go beyond music, including performing at benefit concerts for organizations like the Opportunity Education Foundation, a group dedicated to expanding access to education for children around the world. The mission resonates with her because education played such an important role in her own childhood. Clarkson has often spoken about how education shaped her path and why she believes every child deserves the same opportunity to learn and grow. For Clarkson, the issue is simple. She believes education gives children a fighting chance, especially in a world where many families cannot afford basic tools like computers or learning resources. And if she can use her platform to help change that, she has made it clear she intends to do exactly that. These days, Clarkson's life may look quieter on the surface, but it is far from empty. Between raising her children, caring for dozens of rescued animals, and supporting causes that matter to her, she seems to be focusing less on what she lost and more on building something meaningful in the life she still has ahead of her. What Kelly Clarkson song is your favorite? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, click the next video shown on your screen.